Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this month's episode of Pegasus. I am Dr. Brittany Moore Henderson, Community Outreach Veterinarian here at Mississippi State University's College of Veterinary Medicine. Each month, we will share information about events within the college, within the profession, and within the careers of our alumni, faculty, staff, and students, while also providing you with some important tips on how to care for your four-legged companions, both large and small. And joining me today is Dr. Jim Brett, Associate Clinical Professor in the Department of Pathobiology and Population Medicine here at the College of Veterinary Medicine. Thank you for joining me today, Dr. Brett.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Brett, prior to returning as part of faculty here at the college, you spent approximately 20 years as a mixed animal practitioner. Can you tell us about your previous work in clinical practice?
Well, when I came to school here, I actually graduated in the third class, so it was a great opportunity, and I appreciate what this university has done for me. I wanted to go to rural practice. That's where I came from. And I had a special interest in bovine medicine, cows. I grew up on a beef cow farm, but I really drew an interest into dairy cows while I was here. And so I ended up in a practice in west central Georgia, a little town called Montezuma, about an hour due east of Columbus, Fort Benning area, where I worked for a veterinarian, Dr. Jesse Derrick, for over 2 years. And then I bought his practice. And then I took that and we developed it into a 2 to 3 person practice and covering all animals. I did everything. We saw everything, all kind of species. But as my professional life progressed, I gravitated more to food animals. So I spent most of my time on cattle farms, swine farms, working mostly with food animal producers.
Okay. So out of all those years in private practice, what led you back here to the college?
Well, I think sometimes you're at the right place at the right time, because I was at a veterinary conference and met 2 faculty members for here. They were looking for someone who did a predominant ambulatory practice like I did, doing large animal, mostly cattle practice, to come back and work with the ambulatory service here, farm call service that we have here to take students out on dairy cow farms, beef cow farms, swine, horse stables, everything. And they wanted someone to come back to kind of help try to build that program back up, because I think it's a vital thing for students to get real world experience. And I think when we get them away from the walls and get them out in the real world, this is where you can learn and apply the things that we teach you. So I looked at it as a new challenge, to almost like I was building a new practice. So after I got my wife's permission to come and apply, we came and interviewed, and things worked out that I was able to sell my practice. And in August in 2007, I moved back.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you're still here, Dr. Brett. Well, of course, you've probably been back here at the college for about 10 years now. Yes. What has been your favorite part of working for the college?
You know, it's just so different than private practice, that there's a lot of things that I miss about in the real world and being my boss and everything. But the excitement of being here, I mean, first of all, you get to work with some extremely talented people. I mean, if you look at the people in our department and researchers, even up in animal dairy science that I get to collaborate with, I was doing things I never thought I would have done as I was a student here. But I would say my biggest reward is working with students. I mean, when you finally see them get that concept that you've been giving them, they apply it, or they're able to feel something on palpation that you've been talking about for so long, and you see that light bulb moment, and they said, I finally got it. It's exciting for them, but it's also exciting for me.
Okay, well, we'll take a break and be back with more in just a moment.
Everyone remembers their favorite teddy bear, the reassuring love of their first puppy. They comforted us and made us laugh. For children battling abusive situations or post-traumatic stress disorder, the memories aren't as pleasant. That's why at Mississippi State University, we're pioneering a robotic technology that brings healing to those exposed to traumatic situations. Known as Therabot, MSU's robotic beagle includes lifelike features that allow it to move in ways that are both natural and nurturing. Its ultimate goal? To bridge the gap between 2 types of effective therapy, using real animals and their plush counterparts for emotional assistance. At MSU, we're proud to be changing the game in therapeutic recovery. Even prouder to be putting lives back together again.
Welcome back, everyone. Still joining me is Dr. Jim Brett, and today we're going to provide some important tips on how to maintain a good health status within your livestock herd. So starting off, Dr. Brett, how has the concept of herd health changed?
Well, we've progressed so much in my 34 years of veterinarian. First, looking at those historical concepts, a lot of veterinarians, we use reproductive work as a reason to get on the farm. Seeing if the cows were pregnant, seeing if the bulls were fertile. And then we would add in some reproductive disease vaccinations and other things that we knew that were occurring in the environment, kind of as an adjunct to them. And then you add parasite control with it. So really, reproduction was the foundation, and then we added a base vaccine program with some products that really weren't doing the job we know they didn't do now. I mean, it was amazing that the things that we were using, and we were assuming we were getting protection, that we weren't. Most of the viral vaccines we're using were killed products, which are safe to use but may not be stimulating the right part of immunity for certain diseases. We looked at the backbone for most of the calves, was looking at for clostridial diseases. That's what they call the 7-way blackleg shot. Well, we know there are other varieties beyond that, and we don't know if we were using it right. Sometimes we weren't giving it the right stage of the animal's life. And of course, brucellosis was very common back then, and of course we vaccinated a lot of heifer calves for that to try to help eliminate disease, which eventually we were able to do. Parasite control programs, were basically some of the old products that had very low efficacy. I mean, some of the old phenothiazines that we used, probably only 35% of the worms were killed. And then we got the fenbendazole type products, which were better. But now we're looking back how that's changed. We have better products, but now we've got some things like topicals that we've overused, and so we're having some lack of efficacy problems with those because exactly we've used them inappropriately. So we've learned more about the products that we have. We've learned more about the body system and how it responds and what the things it needs to maintain health. And vaccines and parasite control, those historical concepts are just part of a much, much bigger picture.
Okay, so we know that vaccines and dewormers are basically important. They're needed. But however, there are some other issues that may affect the success of a livestock herd. So what are some of those issues that our viewers should know that may affect the success of their livestock herd?
Well, probably more than I can mention in the time we've got here, but I like to look at a chronological order of things. It begins first with that neonate when it's first born. The calf, when it's born, has zero immunity, and it's so vital that it gets that first milk, that colostrum. And it gets a high quality colostrum and enough in there. So again, if you're looking at these animals that maybe have been distressed through dystocia or born in very cold weather, may not be getting up in time. And if you don't get that colostrum in them really within that first 3 to 6 hours, it's going to have a negative effect on that animal's health and productivity its entire life. Next thing we would look at is, looking at her nutritional status. I mean, the cow, she must be in adequate body condition. She must have the energy, the protein, the trace minerals in her body that she needs to provide not only her maintenance, but actually what are needed for her immune system. And then we look at it, the calf, well, actually then it's the dam's nutrition that's so important to that nursing in neonate there. And then as we transition it to a ruminant, how we feed it, and so its immunity as it's being developed. It's so important to have those things, those base things there. There's so many things that we look at, we do early in that life, or sometimes that it's easy, but we got to remember, just like all species like that, there's an age of competence. If we give our vaccines very early when that system is incompetent, it can't perform, it can't recognize the vaccines that we've given, it's not going to lead to protection. There's, of course, big thing is stress, and there's multiple factorial things in stress, from our hot weather in the summertime to our wet, cool winters and things that we have. We're also looking at things like hydration status. We're looking at some of the physical factors that are in the environment. Procedures we do, from castration, dehorning. I mean, those are very stressful to those calves. We also look at some of the social things. When we regroup, commingle animals, not only that is a risk factor to get disease, but again, that social interruption has caused a stress release. I tell students that one thing is that cows want to be bored. Just leave them alone, same feed, same routine every day, and they're happy. If we get them out of that routine, they feel some form of stress. Concurrent diseases they have, maybe say if they're dealing with a mastitis condition or a respiratory condition or GI like scowers, I mean, that's going to have an effect whether they can protect against other diseases or again, can our vaccines work? Metabolic diseases like milk fever, ketosis, again, has a negative effect on immunity. There's a lot of toxins out there in the world that we look at, and especially ones we're looking at immunity. If you've got feed that's been damaged and moldy, well, it's going to have mycotoxins there. And those mycotoxins have various effects on the body, from clotting profile problems to reproductive issues, but all of them are immunosuppressive. So if they're exposed to damaged feed, again, we're going to have more disease, and we're not going to see as good a response to our vaccine. There's physical agents. Say if you've got cattle up in a very short area, very confined area, well, the ammonia that comes from the urine and feces can damage the mucociliary apparatus of the respiratory tract. If you look at things like dust, it alone itself, it would clog that mucociliary. So again, these things can cause more respiratory disease. And then you're looking at some of our environmental hygiene. If animals are in an unhygienic area, say for example, if a cow is calving in a muddy, manure-laden area, that's not safe for her or her calf, because again, those are two critical times when she can get uterine infection or mastitis, and that risk much higher because how clean is her environment. And finally, of course, we talk about weather. Again, that cool, wet weather we get in the winter, we don't get the frigid weather, but the wet we get causes problems. Also with the hot weather we're getting, not only because of the stress it causes, but also it's drying out that mucociliary apparatus. So again, we get more respiratory infections at that time.
Okay. So what made a good vaccine and deworming protocol look like?
Well, I wish I could give you a magic template for all livestock that you cover everybody's operation, but that's just physically impossible. Because if you look at, say, even the cow-calf herd, where are you an open or you're a closed herd? If you bring animals in constantly, your risk for new disease is different than a herd that only has its own animals and raises its replacement from within. Don't get like the stocker calf operator. So you get those calves that are just weaned, where they're vaccinated or not. Again, they're in high risk for getting respiratory disease. So all of these things we have to look at all the risk factors. Have to look at all the factors that can cause health or non-health and how they can respond to their vaccine. So a vaccine, even a parasite control program, must be customized to your farm. I mean, so you have to look at it. We do risk management. We look at what are the things in your environment that are going to be here all the time. Well, we know things like leptospirosis, our clostridial diseases, they're everywhere within the state of Mississippi. For our adult cow herds, we know anaplasmosis is going to be an issue. It must be addressed. Now, besides that, I mean, I don't know, because I don't know what problems you have in your farm and what diseases you may be bringing into your farm.
Okay. Well, Dr. Brett, thank you for joining us today. And basically, if you have any questions or comments about today's show, please contact me at brittany.henderson@mstate.edu. I look forward to hearing you and seeing you next time here on Pegasus.